Hi, everybody. Amanda Strawn is the daughter of a Scientology celebrity, Amanda Ambrose. She was a singer in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and she passed away, Amanda Ambrose, in 2007. But her daughter is a guest on our show, and I wanted to re-record this intro before you actually see the video itself. Janis, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about Amanda and her story briefly, and then we'll get started on the video.
Right. Well, Amanda Ambrose was a well-known singer in the U.S., and she had 5 children, of which Amanda Strawn is the youngest. And Amanda was Big Amanda, and Amanda Strawn was Little Amanda, so we could tell the difference of who is who. But I met Amanda after the family had already gotten into Scientology, and my mother was very good friends with Little Amanda's mother. And so we got to meet each other and know each other on the Apollo when she came there. And there were things that happened on the ship, but generally it was okay for her. But she made attempts to get off the ship because her mother had already left and it once again deserted her. And she made her way to the U.S. and ended up in foster care. And then she just had a rough time before and afterwards. I really appreciated being able to communicate with Amanda once again after all these years. We'd Facebooked, but this is giving her a chance to tell her story and what has happened to her. She didn't deserve a lot of the abuse that happened.
Exactly. And she had, at some point, she then became very famous in Canada as an actress and singer herself, too. But
Right.
She's fallen on hard times, and she's had an up and down life. And so it's a little difficult story to hear. You're going to hear some, some fun stories and things like that when Janis and Amanda were young girls. But then you're going to hear some heartbreaking stories as well. But we wanted to tell you that the audio quality, her microphone started cracking and breaking up, and we tried to fix it, but we couldn't really fix it. While the story was going on. So we felt it important to go ahead and let it play out so you all can see and hear her story. We apologize for the audio quality, but we think it's important that everybody see what she has to say. Anyway, without further ado, this is the story, Amanda Strawn's story. Stay tuned. Aloha, Janis. Aloha, everybody. My name is Mark Fisher, and our channel is Scientology Peeling the Onion. And I'm here with my co-host, the great Janis Gillham Grady. Good day, Janis.
G'day, Mark. G'day, everybody. And thank you for tuning in to Scientology Peeling the Onion. Today's guest is a great one. I have not seen her since the early 70s. We were kids together. And our parents were very good, our mothers were very good friends. And, we've chatted a little over Facebook over the years, but this is special because this is our first time talking face to face.
Hi, I'm Amanda Strawn, and I'm having an interview with Janis and Mark. Hey, you guys.
Hi, Amanda.
Hey, Amanda.
How you doing?
I'm good.
Yeah, we're rolling. Go ahead.
This is so great to talk to you face to face. And just so everybody knows, I've always referred to her as Little Amanda because her mother was referred to as Big Amanda, Amanda Ambrose, who was a internationally acclaimed singer back in the 70s and 60s.
Yes.
And having the same name as her mother who was who? This was Little Amanda, but there's a picture. What was that done, Amanda, that album?
I think that was probably done in the late 50s or the early 60s. I believe it must have been like what I can say about that photo is the dress that my mother is wearing, my father made. He was a tailor, and he made my mom's dresses because she was flat chested and all of her dresses had built-in boobs.
The secret of the industry.
Yes, sir. And then she got her breast done like in like 67, 68. And all I can think about now is her lying in some freaking coffin with bones and silicone balloons.
Oh.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
But now
Wow.
that's kind of normal. I'm sorry, like, ask your question.
No, that's okay.
Shit is so layered. It's so layered. But yes,
Yeah.
that's one of my favorite albums as of my mom's. Before she got into Scientology, I find personally that her music got a little thiety weedy. But at one point, she was mentioned in the names of Cleo Lane. Who's the other singer? My memory is so bad. The one who, Nina Simone. She
Oh,
was,
yeah.
she was mentioned in those names. She was in the same genre until she had done a couple of television specials, like Amanda Ambrose specials. She's been on the Mike Douglas, the Johnny Carson, all those shows of that era until she got into Scientology, where she would disseminate in between songs and eventually got blacklisted and became the church's sweetheart ambassador.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, and that was during the time period she was very heavily connected with my mother.
Yes, that's my mom got into Scientology in the New York org, and we were there for a couple of years. And when she moved to Los Angeles, I think in retrospect, it was partially to work with, for, and at Celebrity Center. Yeah, I think we moved for Celebrity Center.
Right. Well, here's a great picture. There's your mom on the back at the left.
Yeah.
And on the far right, in the front with the glasses and the striped pants, is my stepfather, Heber.
Heber, I remember him from New York as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
He
yeah,
was
and
a
then
good guy.
yeah, he was. I wish I was able to see him. He's very old and he's got dementia.
Wow.
And not in great shape from what I'm hearing.
Wow. Is he still in Los Angeles?
No, he's out in the, what would you call it? Temecula area in California.
Okay.
That's apparently where the nursing home is that he's in.
Okay.
Yeah. But in the middle of that picture, you'll recognize Joyce Myers.
I can barely see the picture because I'm on my cell phone.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
But
anyway, I've always enjoyed this picture of your mom there and Heber there and Joyce and Sue Pomeroy.
I remember Sue Pomeroy. Joyce, I remember vaguely. I remember them vaguely. But Celebrity Center was an amazing place. It was the most welcoming environment of any Scientology establishment that I participated in. Your mom, like, she's the most kindest, softest, gentlest, caring human being I've ever met. To this day.
Yeah. And she loved you so much.
She was amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, she had you had a special place in her heart.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, you did. Yeah. But I remember when Well, when was it? Was it in the 70s that you came to the ship? Your mom came in 70 with my mother.
Right.
And I
70, 60, 70, 69, 70. Yeah, I came in like 71. I think I was like 14, 71, 72. Okay, let me give you some history on that page. This is a picture from when I wasn't stuffing envelopes or passing out flyers for the church, which was like 5 hours a day. On Times Square, I had managed for myself, by myself, to join the only Black modeling agency in New York at that time called Black Beauty. And I ended up getting a contract. I did this without my mother. I didn't let her inform her until I had to be somewhere. And she found out that it was a modeling contract. She showed up with my brothers and kind of took over my little contract. It was a contract for hair products, like, remember the original shampoo in a can and Hair So New? It was a spread in the New York Times for Clairol hair products. Mm-hmm. And she kind of fucking stole the photo shoot, and we got some pictures out of it.
Well, around what time was this? What year was this, do you think?
Okay, I have to go back. 68, 67.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're younger in that picture than when I knew you.
Oh yeah, that was that's when my mom first got into Scientology. When we lived in Toronto at the time, and in 67, the day that the Expo 67 opened was the day my mom drove us out of Toronto and into New York. And it was our second day in New York that she took us to the church. So that was like early 67. So I'm 10 years old there, 10, maybe 11.
How did you get into how did she get into Scientology? Did somebody?
I didn't get into
take
Scientology.
A lecture? No, her. I meant her, your mother.
Same way everybody else does. They promise you everything that you think is wrong in your life.
Yeah.
They make you promises. They promised to fix her finances, yet they never paid her a cent for the thousands of concerts she gave. Right. All they gave her was training. I supposedly had training paid up until my OTs because of my mother's performing all over the world for all of the churches. They never paid her a dime. Not a fucking dime.
Yeah, she was very busy, always out there disseminating every concert she did.
Yep. Yeah. And that's how she lost. That's how she got blacklisted, is disseminating in between songs and nightclubs on yeah.
Right. Now, here we have a picture of, Mark, how do I do this? It's not coming up.
I'll do it.
Yay, Mark.
There we go.
That's me. I was 5 years old in Chicago.
And who are you with?
To my behind me is my brother Terry. Next in front of him is this dude named Dwayne, and in front of him is actually, his name is Anthony Zawanaw. He is the adopted son of Joe Zawanaw, who was the band leader and main creator for a group called Weather Report.
Okay, I know the group. Yeah.
Right.
Now,
and
go
I
on.
know that little boy Anthony, my father's best friend, her name was Maxine, and she was actually the first Black Playboy bunny in Chicago. And they were best friends. And my dad used to make her street clothes, and he became very popular to the bunnies for making their street clothes. And they were best friends. She married Joe, and there we are. I used to take
Wow.
care of Anthony. He was my little buddy.
Yeah. Now, how many siblings did you have?
4.
4.
Yes.
Two sisters and two
And
brothers.
2 brothers. Yeah.
And you were the 5th.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm the baby.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So let's go. So you were in New York. You then ended up in Los Angeles, and were you in the Sea Org yet, or not until you got to the ship?
No, I wasn't in the Sea Org. It took maybe a year and a half before my mother told us that she was going to the Flagship, and if we didn't sign the contract, she was leaving us behind. Now, we were used to her leaving us behind way before Scientology. So
Right.
it was a threat. She threatened us to sign that billion-year contract.
So when she went, she had you and Tony go with her, but what about the rest of the kids?
The other kids was Terry, who was on the boulevard. We were on the boulevard for like 4 to 6 months before we got sent to the Flagship. And
Okay.
how old were you then?
13, 14.
Yeah.
14.
Yeah.
Yeah. And where I specialized in messenger, lookout, and helmsman, I was told that I was going to the Flagship to be a messenger. My mom went to Flag before us, before me and Tony. But
Right.
once she got on Flag, they sent us over. And I was supposed to be a Commodore's messenger, but I never made it.
Where was the ship? Do you remember where it was when you first arrived there?
When I first docked, I remember it was in Portugal.
Probably no? Lisbon. No?
Yeah.
Yep. Lisbon.
Yeah.
Do you remember the ship at all? What was your impression of it when you arrived there at such a young age?
Dude, it was just another thing my mother was fucking putting us through.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I had already been on the boulevard, so I knew I was going to the Flagship once I was told I was going to the Flagship. I can't say that I was excited. I was just like, I thought I'll be excited when I become a Commodore's messenger, but I was told I was going to Flag to be a messenger.
Did you meet Hubbard at that time, L. Ron Hubbard, or do you remember when you first met him?
Well, he was on the boat. I'm sure at one point we crossed paths, but it wasn't like he gave like an introduction or was there when we came aboard, you know.
Right.
Scientology was not my thing. It was my mother's. It was what she was putting us through. She put us through it and abandoned us there.
I understand.
Yeah. Well, I remember when your mom came in 1970, when my mom came, because my mom came with a whole bunch of people and your mom was doing training. Right. And at nighttime, Amanda was the only person besides Ken Urquhart that I remember Diana Hubbard allowing to use her grand piano.
Yeah.
And the grand piano was in the A-deck lounge directly down the stairs from Hubbard's office.
Right.
And I'd sit outside Hubbard's office listening to Amanda playing away and just belting out these songs.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember like passing and hearing her practice, but that is the one thing I've known of my mother. She would practice like 3 hours a day.
Right. And even in the different ports we went to, the port captain's office would put on various events, or locals would put on events. And Amanda would put on performances on the ship and ashore for the locals, the VIPs.
I remember in Morocco, I don't know if it was in Casablanca or where, but the prince had, or the king, I don't know who it was, but there were a bunch of us invited for a dinner, and my mom was performing, and it was like a 7-course meal, and one of the meals was like duck, and I had never had duck before, and there were all these fucking hairs and feathers coming from the duck, and I wouldn't eat the duck. And like, it even came to the master of arms coming to my mom's like, eat the duck. I'm like, I ain't eating no duck. And like, it was crazy. It was crazy. Like, you're embarrassing us. I'm like, I'm not eating this duck, right? And that's one of the few things I remember about being like, you know, just like holding my own. I'm not eating that hairy fucking piece of bread. I don't remember what meals came before. I don't remember what meals came after. I still won't eat duck. I still won't eat duck.
So this must have been an event ashore?
On the what?
Ashore. You had to go ashore to the...
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And it was like a big deal. And yeah, I remember that.
Oh, that's funny.
Amanda, do you remember Janis? Do you remember meeting Janis when you were on the Apollo?
Oh, fucking yes. She was she was like Commodore's head messenger, you know, and that's what I inspired to be, was a messenger. And I never got there. And I think part of the reason, like, I started in the galley, and I remember, like, that wasn't easy for a kid. You're chopping up zucchini in a baby bath for like 300 and whatever kids. And it took me a long time after reading Janis's books to question why I never made it as a messenger. And what happened was I was asked to carry something for, what was his name? I can't remember. Oh my God, I can't remember his name, but I was bringing his OT medal to him on flag. And when I went through customs, they took it. And I remember the guy fucking haunting me saying, "You took my necklace." I'm like, why would I want your fucking necklace, bro? And no one believed me that they took it at immigration. What was his name? The dude with the limp. Remember the dude with the limp, and he was like Australian or something, or
Jacob Kemp.
Jacob Kemp.
South African.
The limp is the one that's what gave it up to me. Jacob Kemp.
Yeah, he was South African.
Yeah. And he used to pop out of nowhere to call me a thief. And I'm like, dude, I didn't take your shit. Immigration did. But that was that. And I think that is why I never became a messenger. I became a tech messenger, like an auditor messenger, but that's as far as I got.
Well, that explains why I heard that, Amanda was a thief. But that didn't come across as your personality or, you know.
Yes. I've been accused of being a lot of things I'm not. So there's that. Right. There's that. Yeah.
Did you have a position on the ship as well? Like when it went to sea, like do you remember going on, you know, if they went to sea or anything like that? Any stories about that?
Of course. I remember, like, even now, it's still with me when I'm out in the open and there's nothing but clouds in the sky. Like, I'll never forget being at sea in the open air with the sky clear and the clouds and just the beauty of that. I never enjoyed being on the ship, but I now have memories. I remember going horseback riding in Morocco, Janis. You remember that?
Ah,
You remember that? I'll
Yeah.
never forget it. It was beautiful riding through the forest. And I remember like the forest was deep and lush, and it started to get less lush and less deep, and the earth changed, like the ground changed, and then there's like no bark on the trees, and then there's bark on the ground, and that becomes mixed with sand, and next thing you know, we're out of the forest and we're like in sand dunes, and there was like a couple of pitch tents, like with their camels outside. I'm like, what
Yeah.
the fuck? But I will never forget that experience. I'll never
That
forget.
that would have been in Agadir in Morocco.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was great riding. I always
That was
enjoyed that.
amazing. That
Were-
was
Janis,
were you-
amazing.
you guys were about the same age, right? Did you guys hang out like with the other messengers and the other?
I'm a
other
little
future age?
older. I'm a little older,
Okay.
but we hung out.
We
you
hung
know.
out a bit. I mean, you
Yeah,
were a messenger
not a
and
lot,
I was
but-
not. But
Yeah. Yeah.
I had a relationship with Doreen from the Celebrity Center, so
Yes.
that was my friend. But once she became a messenger, she just, she became a messenger with an attitude.
Was it Doreen, Janis? Is that your brother's ex-wife?
Yeah, my
no.
sister.
Yeah.
Rest
yeah.
in peace, Doreen.
Yeah.
That's right. Well, she actually died in a horse accident.
That's crazy. How old was
Yeah.
she?
She was probably about 35 or something. She was very
Wow.
young.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
It was after she left the Sea Org, after she left Scientology.
Yeah. But I was going to say, Amanda, were you with us when we used to race the horses down the beach?
No.
I have a funny story on that where we decided we're all going to race each other.
Right.
And we're racing along, and some other horses got in front of me, and the sand was coming up into my face from the horses' feet.
Right.
So I closed my eyes, and I'm still going at a full gallop. And then I go, oh, there's no more sand hitting my face. So I open my eyes thinking I must be in the lead. No, I'm over in the dunes going back to the forest.
I was really, that was an amazing day for me. And I was so proud that like I learned to ride when I was like 6 or 7 years old. I was so proud to be like one of the riders that day. Instead of what do I do? That was an epic memory.
Yeah.
Epic. Also,
Yeah, that was good.
Also strawberries and cream on the dock. Was that Agadir?
Oh, that was Agadir. The jour de nuit. The jour de nuit would have the strawberries and whipped cream. And I went back there 2 years ago to Morocco, and I went back to the jour de nuit, and it's been totally renovated and everything. But it
Wow.
was fun. Balkacine was with me.
Nice. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. My memories are more of those type of experience than Scientology itself, like Scientology on board, other than just the Scientology-ness of it all.
Did you go to school like with the other kids, or did you do any Scientology training, or what did you have to do at your age?
On the Flagship, I avoided training. I used to hide in the fucking chain locker to avoid having to study.
Now, were you actually put in the chain locker at any time, or you did that on your own free will to get away?
Best hiding place on the ship. I never got put in the chain locker, but I remember someone had, and I went exploring to look for the chain locker, and then like I found it a good hiding place. Yeah.
And why did you need to hide?
Because I didn't want to go to course.
To school.
To school.
Yeah.
Well, I don't blame you. I used to hide in the lifeboats.
Dang, that's a good spot. And the schooling wasn't schooling. It was Scientology.
Right.
It was Scientology schooling. I mean, when my mom, I was a straight A student in New York, and my mom took us out of school to stuff envelopes for the church. I auditioned for Juilliard and got accepted. I babysat for a guitar and taught myself to play it. This is by the time I was 12. And all we did was stuff envelopes and pass out flyers. So school was not important to me anymore. Like Scientology training, Scientology took me away from being normal.
Yeah, from your childhood, really.
Yeah,
from your
well,
childhood. Yeah, good.
Now, didn't you used to also perform with your mom?
Yeah, we did at one point. Yeah, we did kind of. I think it was. I remember doing a play at Celebrity Center for Thanksgiving once, and it was fun. It was a comedy, and we did backups for her for a couple of songs. But yeah,
Right, because I thought I remembered seeing you and Tony, your brother, doing some backup for her.
yes, definitely,
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
We were, I think
And then
it's crackling, but go ahead.
yeah. Even in the Aft Lounge, I remember you'd have your guitar out and do a little singing. Yeah.
I remember some shows where, like, I sang Frank Mills from Hair, and my brother played the flute or the clarinet or something, and we sang with her. But when I was 5, we had my brothers and sisters. We started a band called the Ornaments, and I got kicked out because I was too young. But we sang like music was in the family, kind of.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what other experiences did you have on the ship that kind of jump out at you?
The MAA was an asshole. That little short blonde dude. Mark, were
Little
you
short
on
blonde
the
dude, Janis? Huh?
Blonde?
short little blonde dude who had no right in that position because he was short and had a Napoleonic complex and thought he was a badass, and you could easily pop him upside his head and put him in trauma mode.
I remember a short little blonde dude. I remember John Nelson.
That's probably, I think his name was John.
Yeah, John Nelson was who I was thinking of.
Yeah, that's who popped to mind. He used to be the storesman. I remember the big sacks of potatoes were like bigger than him.
Did you have a position at sea on Sea Watch? Did you have a position on the ship? Like were you a lookout, or what did you do?
On the Boulevard, yes. On the Flagship, no. I had a day job. I was a messenger. Had to get people to their sessions and shit. Or I worked in the galley.
Right.
But
that's where that's where I started out, was the galley.
Cool. It's nice to know that now. It's nice to know.
Yeah, I had to stand on a milk crate in order to reach the sink to wash the dishes.
Oh, yeah, I remember washing dishes too.
Yeah.
Well, I'm very proud of you, sis. I'm very for where you ended up on the ship and who you are and who you've become as a result of it.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's probably all those dishes that caused that.
So what else do we want to talk about?
Yeah. Well, what happened after you left the ship? Where did you go? Because your mother was still...
When did you leave? What happened? Why did you leave?
I wasn't still on the ship when I left. I remember her walking the gangplank sang goodbye, and her afro wig flew off. Don't you remember that?
I'd forgotten about it. That's right.
And I'm waving goodbye to my mom, saying, "What's wrong with this fucking picture? She's leaving me. She's leaving me here for 1,000,000,000 years," and that was her intention. See ya. You're in good hands. But yeah, no, I left after her, and when I did leave, it was because I invented a plot to get off the ship because I was tired of this. This is like shortly after my mother left, and I knew she had no intention of bringing us home. You remember Sylvia Calhoun?
Yep.
Her and I,
Yep.
her and I were kind of tight. I knew she handled LRH's finances, and I think John was giving me shit and accusing me of something, not going to classes or whatever. And I went into her cabin and took some money. I put it under her mattress, except for like 5 dirham. I went to the canteen and used it, knowing they would know it was me, or they would do like an investigation to find out. And I got kicked off the ship for it. I just wanted to get off the ship. I had done like all the courses. I did everything I was supposed to do. I was told, if you do this course, you can go home and be not a messenger, but something. Anyway, they wouldn't let me off no matter what I did. They wouldn't let me off until I became a criminal. And I became a criminal just to get off the boat. And when I did get off the ship, I ended up back in LA. My mom would not take me because I was an SP. I ended up living with some friends of mine from Celebrity Center when we were kids. I had gotten a job stuffing envelopes for this guy who lived in like the hills of Hollywood, in the house that Easy Rider had film shoots in. Anyway, I was able to get my own apartment. I lied about my age.
Because you were
How
totally
old were you?
underage.
I'm like 16 and a half.
Yeah.
17 when I got my apartment. Not even. I must have still been 16 because one of my friends who was like 17 was dating and living with a man twice her age, and they wanted to move into my apartment, my California apartment, where there's the pool and the stairs, and I wouldn't let them move in. And so they told my landlord how old I was. They told my boss how old I was. And I ended up in a foster home in East LA, where I was not used to being. Like, I had not been in an all Black environment since visiting my grandparents in St. Louis. We were always the only Negroes. I ended up in a foster home. My foster father was the pastor of the church. I lost my virginity to him through being raped. I told my social worker I was labeled a liar. My second foster home was in Compton. It was worse. I saw a kid murdered in the schoolyard for his jacket and his running shoes. Once I had enough of that, my father had been living in LA with Terry, my brother, who, when he left the Flagship, left the Boulevard, he ended up with my dad. And once I moved in with my dad, I'm like 17. Well, I ran away from my foster home, but my counselor gave me a pass to get off the ship. To get out of the off the school premises. He gave me $5 to get to my dad. He made me promise to send it back. I did when I got my first job at the dry cleaners. But yeah, It wasn't. Oh, and while I'm in the foster home, my mother was doing a play called Don't Bother Me, I Can't Cope. I graduated from high school and she came, and that was it.
She basically disconnected from you completely and didn't chose her life in Scientology over her family. Is that what happened?
My mother abandoned me at 6 weeks old. Keep in mind, this woman had 9 babies, 4 died at birth. Okay? My parents got divorced when I was 5 years old. I lived with my grandparents from 6 weeks old to 3 years old, where I went back to Chicago and lived with my brothers and sisters, and I was a pain in the ass to everyone, apparently. At 3 years old is when Tony started molesting me. From 3 years old to 9 years old, I was molested by Tony, his first victim. Shall we talk about Tony now?
You're talking about your brother Tony, right?
Who was a mechanic.
Yep, there he is.
There he is, the mechanic with y'all talking brothers. And David, you're
yeah.
Yeah, I remember.
Pardon me?
Yeah.
I didn't hear what you said.
I remember, the mechanics and your brother and my brother. The mechanics were.
Yeah, they were both engineers in the engine room together.
Yeah, they were good.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah, and this photo was taken when he was on the deck force, because that was Peter Vogading.
Right.
And there's another picture here. Yeah, here's Tony on the left, and myself in the back there with Doug McCullough.
Right.
And Doreen was kneeling on Doug's back. And this is how we all just hung out on the ship out on deck, would hang out like this. Bunch of teenagers.
Yeah. I remember.
Yeah.
I remember.
Yeah. So.
Go ahead.
Well, he was offloaded for molesting another girl.
On the ship?
He was offloaded off the ship, yes. She was sleeping and he came into her cabin and she woke up while he was molesting her. And when Hubbard found out about this, he was furious. Tony was off that ship within hours.
That's what Tony used to do to me in my sleep. And to this day, Terry says it never happened. Like, my brothers were very close. And Terry's like, sis, I don't remember this happening. And I'm like, because it didn't happen to you. He did it when you weren't around. He did it when you were sleeping. And to this day, me and my brother Terry, we don't talk because I was dramatic and just causing shit in the family, even after he went to prison for molesting not only his daughter, but her sister. And that was like 3 and 4 years old. Come on. And they're still not going to believe me?
No, he was, that's why he was kicked off the ship.
That's good to know. That's amazing.
Yeah. And just so people know, pardon?
I think he ended up in Sweden or Copenhagen or something like that for a year and a half or a couple of years. And I'm like, how did he get there? Why did he get there? But that's not for me to know. It's his.
Yeah. Yeah, all I know is he did go to prison, then he got out on parole, and he ended up getting sent back, right? And that's where he finally died, was in prison.
Let me tell you how that happened. He served his time. I think it was like 30 years or something. And he got out. And he ended up going to the emergency because he was having trouble seeing. And he ended up having a brain tumor, which they took out. And then they found cancer throughout his body. And while he was in the hospital, he missed his probation. And that's how he ended up back in jail. And that's where he died.
Yeah, well, let's move on from Tony, and let's go back. So you finally get out of foster care by going over to your dad?
Yes. Wait, let me get this right. I went to my dad. Yes, I got out of foster care and I went to my dad. He had a girlfriend who had 2 kids my age. My father had Terry and his protege because my father was a tailor and he was working with leather. And it was better to be with her and her family than my brother and his, to be in an all-male environment, I think. My father had no idea what to do with an almost 18-year-old fucked up kid.
Right.
Yeah. So life with Carmen was interesting. It was okay. It's got its stories too, but after Carmen, my father ended up moving back to Chicago so Terry and I could have the apartment. I had a job in a dry cleaners. I've had a job in women's clothing. I worked in a law firm as the Xerox operator. I spent 5 years in 3 different places being an actual switchboard operator. Hold the line, please. Which number are you calling? Blah, 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 blah. I worked as a switchboard operator at a Beverly Hills answering service with stars. I've got stories about that. I ended up moving to Pasadena to take over my oldest sister's apartment, only to find out that the rent I was sending her, she wasn't paying, and then I got evicted from that apartment. And like 10 days before my eviction, I decided I'm going to join the Navy, get away from my mom in Scientology, because she's like, no matter what you do, I'm going to get you back in. And my dad's like, no matter what you do, baby, get an education. So I figured I'd join the Navy. Like, I'm 27 now. I had moved to Toronto. I had moved back. And like, I'm like, okay, I'm going to join the Navy and get an education and get away from mom. On my way back from getting my high school, my records, I met a man on Hollywood Boulevard. Within 2 hours of talking, the words came out of my mouth, will you marry me? The next day he said yes. 1 week later, I was in Montreal. I was married for 10 years. I've been divorced for almost 10 years.
Wow. Wow.
And
in between that, you were an actress.
Oh yeah, you can IBMD me. I've been in over like 32 movies. I've done voiceovers for cartoons. I've done theater.
Was this in Canada, or was this in Canada or in LA or where?
In Montreal.
Where?
I went to a casting
in Montreal.
Montreal.
I went
Okay.
to a casting once in Los Angeles, and there were like 300 females there, and I'm like, no. And my acting started in Montreal because I made a friend who was an actress, and she like dared me to go to an audition for children's theater. I did it. I got one of the best agents in Montreal, and I acted for like 25 years. I stopped maybe 6 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah. IBMD me.
Wow, look at you.
That's a great photo.
Yeah.
That was for my portfolio, the other one where I look so beautiful. Yeah.
This one.
Like,
yeah.
Started acting, and when I first came, I joined a band. We did good. I remember wearing Silver LeMay singing some of my mother's songs because I remember her singing in like in her Silver LeMay. I went through my jazz period of long gowns and singing nothing but jazz. And I've been in a few bands. And after my marriage ended, I met a girl who asked me to mentor her. She knew 2 chords on a guitar and couldn't sing a harmony. And that's what happened with Strawn and Moon. We toured. We ended up making a video, a professional video. We toured 3 months across Europe, backpacks and guitar. We lived together. We had a 5-year plan. After the 5 years, we had invitations to festivals, which was our goal, was festivals worldwide. And then she got deported, and my life got very difficult for a while. And I ended up in a rooming house with a guy with all men. The lady downstairs, who I was the only girl up there, and she called the police. I told him to fuck off, kicked him out of my room, went back to my wine and my movie. Next thing I know, there's a knock on my door. I yell, fuck off again. It's the police. I didn't know they were there. Apparently, the dude answered the door and told the police that I threatened his life. I went to jail. I lost 8 months of my life between being in jail for 6 weeks, being in the hospital for the mentally insane for 6 weeks, and 6 months in a mental institution, losing everything I owned yet again. And it's been 3 years since that happened, and I will never be the same. I don't sing, I don't play, I don't write, I don't leave my home unless I absolutely fucking have to. And that's what happened.
Wow. I wondered where you had disappeared to, because we'd been in touch, and then you suddenly disappeared. So that explains that. I'm sorry that happened.
I was mistreated in all the establishments, and I was mistreated. And I just shut down.
I watched your videos on Facebook when you used to perform with her. I enjoyed those. They were fun. Yeah.
Well, I met her. She could play 2 chords and could not sing a harmony. So we put in a lot of work. And writing, I wrote so many songs, and it was great to perform original music across Europe, backpack and guitar, to finally have my own voice as a singer and an artist instead of always singing someone else's songs. But
right.
You know, I did go back and let's see, maybe 1989, back to Morocco with a jazz trio, back to Casablanca. I played there as jazz singer for 3 months, and then I spent 2 months in Rabat at the Saphir Hotel. So
well, that's good. That's good. Yeah.
Let me go back. I want to ask you. So, whatever happened to your mother? She passed away, right? She's no longer alive. Is that right?
My mother passed in, I think, 2007. And the last thing she said to me is, "Please put money on Tony's books."
Please do what?
My mom, I came here in 86. I think in about 88, she had they tried to get my husband into Scientology. And finally, they got him, and he paid all kinds of money to go to Flag in Florida to get auditing, because they promised to make everything wrong in his life right. He got there. They asked him for more money. He said, fuck this. You're not giving me what I paid for. He came back. I didn't know we were separated at that time. And I, because he went through the channels of suing the church, I became once again a suppressive person, although I didn't even know they were doing this. And I hadn't spoken to my mother for like 16 years before she died.
Now, so you talked to her when she was dying? Is that what happened? And she wanted you to put money on Tony's account at the prison?
She wanted me to make sure that Tony got what he needed, because I was working regularly. We had money. We had money. I was sending money to my brother Terry for his girlfriend's cancer treatment and like all kinds of stuff. I was taking care of my family, and I wasn't allowed to go be with her when they knew she was dying because the church said I couldn't. Although I paid Terry, I wasn't allowed to.
Your mother this whole time was just dedicated to Scientology. Like she never had any doubts or anything like that when her children were having problems or anything like that. She just kept, doing Scientology.
Like I said before, my mother abandoned me a long time ago. Her thing was singing and playing and being an artist. And Scientology continued that for her. She sang for the church like 3 or 4 times a week somewhere in the world. So she continued to do what she did. As far as I'm concerned, the church made it easier for her to abandon her children like all fucking Scientologists were taught to do.
Right.
Right.
That you're a grown being when you're fucking 3 years old and like, come on.
Yeah, I've been there.
I think Scientology helped her to continue to be a shit parent, but as far as I'm concerned, she was always a shit parent. Scientology just justified her actions.
Right. Yeah. And the children got in the way.
Yeah, in a way, it's very selfish organization in terms of like they make people think about themselves and the organization only, and then ignore everything else, their family, their friends, and just be dedicated.
They have to. You in Scientology, if you are not on board, you're left on the fucking shore.
Yeah.
They don't want anyone that you love to have a second opinion, to try and get you to change your opinion. And that's what they do. It's like a fucking big narcissistic organization where they separate you from everyone and everything you love to fill your head with their shit.
Yeah. I totally agree.
Yeah.
It's the biggest narcissist scam ever. Like, I don't know enough about LRH, but that must have been the biggest freaking narcissist ever.
Yeah.
To have everything his way, or that's it.
Yeah, and it rolls down to the children, and it affected you, affected me, all of us kids.
You can leave your kids wherever, and your responsibilities are to the church, not your family. I live in a government retirement home. I am retired. I get a pension from all my acting, where I was so smart to put money away for that.
Good.
So, a pension in a government retirement building full of racist old fucking people.
And you have health care there too, right? In other words, if you have to go to you have health care.
Oh yeah. I don't really use it because, like, I'm pretty damn healthy.
Well, I hope I gave you some laughs as we told some stories.
I still feel so special from my Flagship experience and Celebrity Center. I still feel very special to have lived those experiences.
Good.
Amanda, we appreciate you coming on. The crackling sound, hopefully we can get that solved the next time we have you on, so that way it's not a problem.
Yeah.
I hope you get what you need for your program. And it's been lovely talking.
We did. You've been great. You've been great. I've enjoyed it. Though I see you've gone through rough times. I did enjoy reminiscing and going over things. And you're the first person I knew that ever hid in the chain locker.
Oh, wow. Crazy.
Yeah.
For your books, I feel you made me feel special.
Well, thank you.
You keep on keeping on. I mean, that's all we can do. We live each day and keep moving forward. All of us have had rough times and stuff, but you just got to keep going.
Okay,
yeah.
So I got for you before I go.
Yeah.
What's the difference between a white fairy tale and a black fairy tale?
What's the difference between a white fairy tale and a black fairy tale? What?
And a black fairy tale.
I don't know.
Okay, what?
The white one starts off, once upon a time. And the black one starts off, man, you ain't gonna believe this shit.
Yeah. That's true. Unfortunately. Yeah.
Yeah. So we should have started off with, you're not going to believe this shit.
Please pass it around. You don't have to be black to tell that one.
No, that's a good one.
Right on.
Well, Amanda, we appreciate you being here. Anyway, everybody, thank you for watching the show. Please subscribe, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button. If you have any questions or comments, please write down below. If you have questions for Amanda, write them down there, and we will relay them to her, and we'll get them answered. And then we just want to say we appreciate you. We appreciate you, Amanda. We're sorry what happened to you. And, we hope other people can learn from this as well, because Scientology definitely had a negative effect on a lot of people's lives. And that's why we're trying to, expose. What's that?
You're doing a great thing. A lot of ex-Scientologists need to know that they are not crazy, that they are not wrong for believing, and that there are many like them that need to be able to talk about it. That need to be able to. So
yeah, talking about it does help.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
Okay, Amanda. Until next time, we'll see everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.